the big lie. The big lie was, are you getting to Benghazi yet? No, just a second. The big lie was this. If you have your health insurance plan and you like it, you'll keep it, period. But now they're lying about the numbers and their goals of 7 million by March enrolled. Here is an exchange between an MSNBC host and an administration official regarding the numbers and the goal of 7 million people being signed up. They only have 1 million. They fell 2 million short of their goal this past year. So they're 1/7 there. Roll it.
Those numbers certainly show an uptick in enrollments, but still far short of what you were hoping for at this point. You were hoping for about 3 million people, I believe. Are you confident that you're going to be able to meet your target of getting 7 million people by the end of March? And is that still your target number?
Well, that was never our target number. That was a target that was put out by the Congressional Budget Office and has become the accepted number.
Well, Kathleen Sebelius has said 7 million people, that's the goal.
But that was because it came from the Congressional Budget Office and it had become an accepted number. There's no magic to the 7 million. What there is magic to is that in the month of December, 1 million Americans signed up for insurance. Not because they had to. They didn't face a penalty if they didn't. They signed up because they wanted insurance on January 1st.
Okay, let's go back to what Kathleen Sebelius said in her testimony this past December 8th, 2013. Roll it.
The AP reported that a September 5th memo sent to you listed monthly enrollment targets for the exchanges, and this memo indicates the target enrollment number for the end of December is 3.3 million. Based on HHS's release this morning, your department is more than 3 million off their target number. Isn't that correct?
Through the end of November, that is correct, sir.
Okay. They don't know videotape exists or recordings exist. They count on you. Just one more piece of changing, moving the goalposts, and just lying about the goalposts. And these are the folks that are in charge now, want to be in charge and have been in charge and changing the rules on our precious resource known as healthcare and being able to access it affordably, as well as have an industry that provides for innovation. They're not going to stop. It's going to continue. And you say, how are they going to run on Obamacare? That's how they're going to run on it. So we'll keep bringing you nothing but truth on that. It's frustrating, yes, but it's also fascinating to think they can get by with this and think nobody's going to watch, or nobody's going to notice. Oh, it's just going to be right-wing talk radio. Right-wing talk radio is going to watch us, but nobody else, they won't. Actually, people are catching on because they're all impacted by it. So even when you have a low-information voter or a leftist, they start seeing the consequences of this wonderful promise known as government health care or government intervention in 1/6 of our economy, big time, and they say, wait a second, this doesn't work. And how on earth did somebody like President Obama get in charge of all this? Is a tremendous responsibility, and he's been very irresponsible with it. Maybe they start becoming connected and interested in part of things. And it's not about President Obama being incompetent. No, it's about the President of the United States being incompetent, somebody holding that office, and the fact that we elected him as a nation. And there are consequences for those decisions. One of the consequences has and continues to be the failing of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Perhaps people will wake up. I wish people would wake up to this. When 4 Americans die, including our ambassador, Chris Stevens, in Benghazi, Libya, and we learn it's a terrorist attack, we learn that it wasn't because of a video. We learn that those things were either not said or lied about being said, or when they were said were not true and they knowingly misled us. Then there should be accountability. But why on earth would they revisit an issue like Benghazi? Speaking to the New York Times, why would they revisit the issue when it is such an indictment in so many ways of dishonesty and cover-up and, quite frankly, irresponsibility? It's irresponsible not to honor security requests when there's a paper trail. People know this. They're counting on your ignorance. They're also trying to confuse it just enough to allow for Hillary Clinton to, as it's been described, decouple herself from Benghazi and the Obama administration. She was the Secretary of State at the time, and one who it would have been impossible, in the words of Mr. Gregory Hicks, the senior representative from the State Department, second only to Chris Stevens, for her not to know about the requests leading up and the attacks leading up to September 11th. Here is the good Dr. Charles Krauthammer breaking it down both politically with Hillary Clinton, why it was written, but also going after the attempt to say this was not al-Qaeda linked, which the New York Times story set out and did. Said, no, it's not al-Qaeda. And, well, the good doctor says it best. Roll it.
The reason that the Times invested all the effort and time in this and put it on the front page is precisely a way to protect the Democrats, to deflect the issue, to protect Hillary, who was exposed on this issue, has almost no issue in her tenure in the administration. It is obviously a political move. Saying it's not al-Qaeda because it isn't core al-Qaeda is absurd. It's like saying that if the Greek resistance in the Second World War launched an attack on a Nazi outpost, it wasn't part of the Allied effort if they hadn't gotten a direct order from Churchill. Obviously, these are elements in the struggle. They are all united, in a sense, in their ideology and often in their links, and that's all you got to know.
We will be speaking with Buzz Jacobs in the coming days regarding Benghazi and the story in the New York Times. The advancing of a political career over the deaths of 4 Americans and misleading all of us as Americans without hyphens. Very frustrating. But you say, why does it matter, Crane? Why does it matter? Now, you're not saying that, probably because you get the same feeling I do, which is frustration and deep sadness and upset, as well as anger about what happened in Benghazi and people ignoring it, especially the people that always claim they care so much about those who serve. And the answer is twofold, but I'd say there are many more layers, many more responses and parts to that answer. But I'll just give you one. I often claim the president misled the American people, lied to the American people during the debate on October 16th when he said he called it an act of terror. The then presidential candidate and eventual loser of the 2012 election, Mitt Romney, pointed that out. It resulted into exchange, and this is a few hits, a few clips from that exchange. Starts with President Obama defending himself against the charge that he did not call it an act of terrorism, and Mitt Romney responding. Roll it.
The day after the attack, Governor, I stood in the Rose Garden, and I told the American people and the world that we were going to find out exactly what happened, that this was an act of terror, and I also said that we're going to hunt down those who committed this crime.
I think it's interesting the president just said something which is that on the day after the attack, he went to the Rose Garden and said that this was an act of terror.
That's what I said.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
He did call it an act of terror.
Candy Crawley contaminated the debate. Michelle Obama actually leading that clap when everybody is supposed to be silent, seemingly putting Mitt Romney, Governor Romney, as the person who got it wrong. Well, as detailed back then and even before, Mitt Romney, Governor Romney, got it right. And here is the proof. September 12th, night of. This morning in the Rose Garden, that morning, President Obama referred to that as calling it an act of terror, saying it was terrorism. So September 12th, Steve Kroft that night interviewed the president, and I provide for you a piece of that interview and the question. Roll it.
Mr. President, this morning you went out of your way to avoid the use of the word terrorism in connection with the Libya attack.
Right.
Do you believe that this was a terrorist attack?
Well, it's too early to know exactly how this came about, what group was involved, but obviously it was an attack on Americans. And we are going to be working with the Libyan government to make sure that we bring these folks to justice, one way or the other.
This has been described as a mob action, but there are reports that they were very heavily armed with grenades.
As I
that
said,
doesn't sound like your normal demonstration.
right. As I said, we're still investigating exactly what happened. I don't want to jump the gun on this.
Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, Glenn Doherty. We still don't have the truth, but you do have right there the truth about the president misleading the American people. Now, I could spend show after show, 90 minutes. I could go 180. I could do it. We could spend days, weeks, months, even years hitting this story over and over again to remind each and every one of us of Chris Stevens, of Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Tyrone Woods, and why it matters that a president lies to the American people and a news organization aids and abets his cover-up of that lie. I want people to have an honest view, a clear view of the issues and the people representing their parties, our country, in elections. That's what listen, buffet, take it or leave it, but I want you to be able to see the items for what they are. Those on the left do not. They don't want you to see it in the IRS. And I'm not saying this is some kind of conspiracy. I think there are some who are willfully blind. There are some who are absolutely calculated and are trying to cover up. But they sacrifice their own rights on the altar of power because they agree with the agenda at the time, not recognizing that power will be held by somebody else at some point. And if they agree with the use of that power dishonestly and unjustly for others, well, they're signing it on for themselves, and they may not realize that to the end. But you should have an honest view of things. You should get a clear look, and you say, Crane, you're not us. You're sitting here. You're nothing but truth, but you're from the right wing. You're a Christian conservative, and you're, yeah, I am. You're right. No apologies, but I acknowledge it, and I say, buffet, take it or leave it. And then you can make your own decision. So when we look at elections and people losing and are people embracing a particular plan, well, are you embracing something that you're lied to about, like Obamacare? Fraud? Are people embracing that? Now, I could get into the apathy. I can get into the fact that Romney, as a leader and nominee, did not get the conservative base motivated. I like Mitt Romney, by the way. I think he's a class act. And quite frankly, I think he's handled himself with class and dignity. And he would have, well, you get my drift. But it's not about Romney. It's not about Obama. It's about the president of the United States lying to the American people and the press allowing that to happen and actually aiding him in doing that. And that's why we have nothing but truth, so you can get the rest of the story. Thank you, Paul Harvey. Tomorrow, I'm looking to book Ben Johnson on a great story regarding abortion. Yeah, that's right. It's a good thing because we're starting to see the fruits of exposing the truth about abortion and what it is. Plus, Chris Woodward and Bruce Thornton will be with us. That leaves us with tonight. Go to the Facebook page. Honor in your life, compassion in your heart, and always keep the faith in Jesus Christ. AFR Talk, nothing but